Justin Papadakis with the United Soccer League is focused on growth, but growth the right way so it can be sustained. The Business Observer writes often about these topics, with a focus on how other organizations have done it. To read more about stories like this, subscribe to the Business Observer. Go to businessobserverfl.com to sign up. Hello, and welcome to the Business Observer's From the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Justin Papadakis, Deputy CEO and Chief Real Estate Officer of the United Soccer League, based here in St. Petersburg and Tampa. We're going to start, Justin, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
So we're going to start with a few rapid fire questions to get our audience to know you a little bit better, Justin. Teams have, baseball teams especially, have these walk-up songs, right? So what's a cool walk-up song that you would want if you're getting introduced at work? Justin's coming in, it's Tuesday morning. What is your walk-up song?
Well, that's a good question. I have not been asked before. I think we have a mission here to win on and off the field. Can't go wrong with the Champions League soundtrack. I think that's always one of my favorites, so maybe I'll go with that.
I like it. All right, we're going to stick soccer theme. The second rapid fire question. What is your favorite soccer themed movie?
It's another very good question. Favorite soccer themed movie? Unfortunately, I don't think there are many of them. So I don't know. I'm going to have to think on that one. If you have some good suggestions for me, I'm on a plane a lot with looking at all of our different developments. So I definitely have some plane time to go, watch the movies.
Well, I do, and you could give me also, I'll tell you my favorite soccer movie in a second, but you could also give me your favorite sports movie. But there's this underrated movie. People are going to laugh if they've seen this because it's not like well regarded, but it's from 1980. I was thinking about it when I was thinking about this question. It's called Victory, and it's with Sylvester Stallone and Michael Caine. And it's a half, it's going to sound really weird, it's a half Holocaust movie and half soccer movie because this sort of ragtag bunch of soccer players takes on the Nazis during World War II. Sylvester Stallone plays the goalie. I don't want to give away, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a great movie. It's called Victory.
Well, as a former goalkeeper, that's the most important position on the field. So
yes.
It sounds like a good one. I'll definitely take a look at it.
Stallone as a young goalie on this team. And Pele's in the movie. I mean, how could it be bad? Pele is in the movie, so.
Love it.
All right, but what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite sports movie, like a go-to sports movie?
Well, one movie that I think, as you said, wasn't in soccer, but, The Mighty Ducks, I think was a great movie just to popularize the sport of hockey in the United States. Yeah. And I think you've seen a similar effect with Wrexham, and the other soccer TV shows, not movies, but I think those have been great for the sport as it's a introduction to it.
Yes.
The same that Drive to Survive was also a great peek behind the scenes at Formula One.
Yeah, for sure. All right, last rapid fire question, still soccer related because I can't not ask you soccer questions, but Ted Lasso, do you watch it and do you have like a favorite moment, scene, happening, character? What's your favorite thing in Ted Lasso?
Actually, I have not watched it too much. I've seen a couple episodes, but it's definitely, I think, my wife's one of her favorite shows. And so again, it's done a great work for soccer, and
yeah.
Brought a lot of fans that weren't necessarily soccer fans, but when you have that exposure to it, and I think especially with that and Wrexham, with promotion relegation that we have coming USL, you really, I think, gives fans a sense of the excitement and intrigue behind what promotion relegation will bring to the USL.
Yeah, Justin, I think you and I got to lock ourselves in a room and watch Ted Lasso because we might be the only two people in the world that have not seen Ted Lasso, because I haven't seen it either, but I know of it, obviously. So
I think you're right.
All right, we're going to get into more serious questions. You started, you were in real estate development in your career before transitioning to sports. Tell us a little bit about your career and kind of what you did leading up to this role at USL.
So back in 2008, I was with my dad, who's our CEO and owner, and we were at LA Live. And it's, I think it was one of the seminal stadium anchored district projects in the United States. And so that was right when I was graduating from college. And as you mentioned, going to work in commercial real estate. And, he said, I think we can take this strategy and do it for soccer all around the country. And even in a market like LA, which is a very hot, real estate market, this part of LA was always struggled really to just, gain momentum. And so once you had the arena come in, the JW, Ritz-Carlton, it really became a destination overnight. And so that's a strategy that we wanted to pursue. And so I was going to work in commercial real estate and in the retail development. And so we built Walmarts and Targets and, was in the realm of the mall area where you had the anchor stores that really provided the catalyst for the rest of, the mall. And so at that point, there was a fundamental change happening in society where people went out to buy things. And after they bought things, they would stay and, mingle with their friends and family. That's when, between 2008 to 2015, when I started in the USL, a significant shift happened where Amazon became a lot easier to buy things.
Right.
And so people went out, they wanted experiences. And so that was, really perfectly timed up for our strategy at the USL because it's built around these stadium anchored districts. And so that's a strategy that we've been pursuing. And now we have billions of dollars of stadium anchored developments all around the United States. And one that I think is really added to the fan journey, which is an important part of our strategy.
Yeah. All right. So how long have you been at USL? It's been a couple of years now. Tell us, how long have you been there?
So I've been working full time at the league since January of 2015.
Okay, so yeah, that's more than a couple of years, almost 10 years. What would you say is the best, the part you look forward to the most about your work at USL?
The most exciting thing for me is when we get to announce a new team. For these developments, these stadium developments to happen, some take 2 years, some take 5 years, some take 10 years. But when we can bring hundreds of millions of dollars of investment to our city, county, and state partners. And we can now have, we call our stadiums community living rooms, because it's really the one place that everyone in the community can come together week in and week out. And we see the excitement that we have, even before we've played a game, that the community has for having their own professional soccer team. That's what makes this job so rewarding.
Yeah.
And why we work so hard to do it across the country.
And what maybe part of it is that the cycle could be long, but what's the most challenging aspect of your job?
So the most challenging aspect is also that
cycle.
Because these developments are very long-tailed, have multiple election cycles. You have different shifts in the economy, interest rates. Tariffs. There's so many inputs that go into stadium anchor development, and all the stars really need to align with our city partners, the business community, to put these hundreds of millions of dollars together to build stadiums. And stadiums are uniquely challenging because different than building a mall or a Walmart or something, because they have traffic issues, they have sound issues, and from a zoning, it's challenging. You need highways changed and sewers built, and you need all of these things that really come together. And so that really takes a concerted effort from all of the stakeholders in our communities to come together. So it's the most challenging. And that's why they're so hard that's why stadiums, are so hard to build, but it's also the most rewarding. Why we're the largest stadium builder in the world by number of projects is because I think we've been able to solve that through our unique approach to developing them.
Yeah. So within this, in development, in malls and retail, and obviously in sports, you've been around a lot of leaders. And you're a leader yourself, obviously. What stands out to you that are characteristics of good leaders? What do you look for in good leadership?
So I think at USL we've had the big, benefit of having my dad, who saw the opportunity to take professional soccer and break out of the major minor league construct that existed in American sports and take that national. And then secondly, he saw this strategy, as I just was describing, for the league to go out and build the league itself to go out and structure these stadium deals all around the country. So, one big part of leadership is being able to really think of innovation and then go, it's one thing to think about it, and it's another thing to go execute on it. I think he's had the ability to do both. So that's a major part of leadership and building a company. And then it's really bringing all the stakeholders together to rally around it. Somewhat uniquely with sports, it's not like, if you are, a company that can just go do all of it yourself and everything's contained within the company. For sports teams, our teams eventually have to have team owners. We have to have media partners. We have to have players. We have to have coaches, front office, talent referees. We operate within US soccer and FIFA. So you need all of these stakeholders to come together to really buy into your vision. And of course, we need millions of fans who want to come, support the product. And so I think the other part of leadership is really articulating that value proposition for so many different stakeholders and bringing them together. And so I think that's a big part, why I, admire him so much, because he had that vision and that we've executed on it. And I think excitingly, we're still in the early days of this journey.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about mentors. It sounds like your dad is one of them. What have you seen from him? Is there something that stands out? How he handled a meeting, a situation, a project, that stands out? Wow, this was really impressive. That you learned a lot from him.
Well, there's so many, but I'd say this. I think when you have a business, when there's real meaning behind the business, apart from just being a business, the game of soccer is so important to our family. My dad came from a really poor family. Soccer is what, enabled him to go to high school and college and law school. And so being able to give back to the game that gave him so much, that gave our family so much, it adds so much more meaning behind the business. And I think what, is that extra, rocket fuel that really drives a business. And so caring about the product and the impact that your product has on all of its stakeholders, I think that's probably the biggest one, and why it is that the USL is so successful.
And all right, so you mentioned he played soccer, you played goalie. I want to ask you, because leadership is also about, resilience and coming back from setbacks, whether that's giving up a goal that maybe you thought you shouldn't have, or losing a game is obviously going to happen, losing a project, not getting the zoning requirement or things like that. As a leader at your organization, how do you overcome setbacks and mistakes, setbacks, and failures?
Well, I think being a goalkeeper is good training for that. A big part of the goalkeeping strategy is the best way to stop a ball from going to the net is the shot not taking place. Yeah. So the goalkeeper, we had the advantage of not having to run around like our field player teammates, and so we can step back a little bit. And see the game from a different perspective than the field players. And so I think, again, as one of the leaders in the company, we do have the ability to take a more macro view. And of course, as a goalkeeper, one of the big things is to have very much limit your unforced errors.
Yeah.
And having a professional league that is very public facing, as a company, there certainly is limited to no room for unforced errors. And so we try to address that, especially when we have thousands of live events that happen almost every single day, that, from a staffing perspective, from a training perspective, from policies and procedures, we also take a lot of pride in developing, our talent at the front office here at the USL, so that they can be in a position to handle the significant number of challenges that require live decision makings, because you're running live events. And so I think that's what one of the things we're particularly proud of is we run I think a great organization, and one we pride ourselves on being a first-class organization. And a big part of that is to limit the number of errors and put the structures in place to prevent errors from happening in the first place.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. You talked about like the shots that aren't coming, right? So as a goalie, you can sort of cut that angle down, or, position players, as you talked about, position them to avoid those unforced errors. So it sounds like you actively do that with your team to position them for success.
Yeah, that's correct. I think from player safety to our ops staff, broadcasting, and live events, there's just so many things that can go wrong. And if that broadcast feed goes down, everyone knows about it, right? And so that requires just, again, as you said, having a prevent mind focus and not having to react to errors. And a big part of that is setting up the structures, the policies, the procedures, and the human infrastructure to make sure that we prevent as many of those situations from happening as possible.
Excellent. Justin, as we wind down on this podcast, and also get into the season, right? We're almost midway through the year, and you guys got a lot happening. There's a new stadium for the Sarasota Paradise Club and Lakewood Ranch, and I know some other activities. What are you looking at for, the rest of calendar year 2025? What are you most excited about?
So as we look for the rest of the year, new things that are really exciting is we'll have our first, Super League champion, which is our professional women's Division I league. We'll have our first Jägermeister Cup championship, which is our interleague cup. And I think that cup in particular was really important because it was the competition to start for us before we implement promotion relegation. And so we really want to start creating these rivalries between League One and Championship, and then eventually our Division I league, that once those rivalries are formed, whether the team goes up or down on a given year, we won't have to, start the rivalry dynamic new, because they'll already be playing those teams on a regular basis. And so I think I'm really excited for that one. The competitions in the Jägermeister Cup have been amazing. And you can see the League One teams can no doubt hold their own on the field and off the field. And it's going to be exciting to see, how that competition concludes at the end of the year.
Awesome. Those rivalries are great. And we all know that's what, as you just said, fuels a lot of sports is the fan interest and the buzz, those rivalries. Excellent. Well, Justin Papadakis, United Soccer League, thank you so much for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast.
Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordon. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.